Hello and welcome to another episode of A Take a Wednesday. Now, if you are new to this series or this channel, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Feel free to sit down, put your feet up, grab a drink. What I'm trying to say is make yourself at home. I do these videos every single week. I discuss a hockey-related topic and I do it in a single take, hence the name One Take Wednesday. Yeah, that means no edits, no jump cuts, no nothing, just straight up raw footage for your viewing pleasure. Now, usually I put the topic up on the board back there, but I kind of got a nice little counter going for my other videos in which I document how poorly my team is doing right now in the season. But that kind of leads into what's this episode's kind of about. Now, we're just about a quarter of the way through, getting there, of the season, and there are teams out there, including my own, where they're kind of struggling right now. And if they don't turn it around quickly, well, this season and their chances of going to the playoffs and, competing for a Stanley Cup, well, it's going to be over before they really even know it. And then the next thing is, well, can we get a draft pick like Jack Hughes? But what if there was another thing to play for that every team has a chance for? I'm looking at the types of things you see over in Europe, these things you see in European soccer. They have the European Cups like the Champions League, the Europa League. You have more national leagues or national cups tournaments like the FA Cup. And then in terms of hockey, for the European leagues over there, you have the Champions Hockey League, which is very similar to the Champions League for soccer. It's a tournament of about 13 different leagues over there where they all send teams over, or the winners of those leagues, and they compete for a trophy. Kind of the best in Europe. Now, the NHL is a little bit different because the NHL is kind of in a league of its own, so there's no real other leagues that they can compete with that would really be fair. You could say KHL, but no, I don't think so. But for the sake of this, let's say it's just between NHL teams. So it's more of like an FA Cup type of thing. So, and it really would probably work best once Seattle or the next expansion franchise gets into the league to make it 32, because that number is just really good for bracket purposes. So with 32 teams, you have an in-season tournament to go along with the just regular season grind towards the playoffs and the Stanley Cup. It's a completely separate thing. So 32 teams get split up into 8 different groups for a group stage. That's 4 teams per group. And they play each team within their group twice. And this maybe happens between, say, October, or maybe even, we could start it maybe even earlier too. It's going to depend on what NHL owners and players want. But let's say, for example, it goes from like September through maybe early December, where you're playing the teams in your group 2 times, one away from home and one at home. And then the winners and the runner-ups, so the top 2 teams in each group, would then move on to the knockout stage, or the actual kind of playoff bracket part of this tournament. And then from there, they play maybe, say, from January through March or whatever. And the knockout stage would then consist of, say, in each round, you'd play the team that you're up against, you face off against. You'd play them at home and away. So 2 legs. Basically, that means that if Team A wins, at home, and then if they also win on the road, then they move on. But there are scenarios which are called aggregate goals, which are tiebreakers for scenarios where Team A wins at home and Team B wins at home. Then aggregate goals, all that means is which team has scored more goals. So if Team A wins 2-0 at home and Team B wins 1-0 at home, Team A moves on because they've scored more goals. They scored 2 goals rather than just the 1 goal that Team B scored, even though both teams won a single game. And then you got, the added tiebreaker of, away goals, which is part of the whole aggregate goals. It's not really as complicated as I'm making it sound. It's kind of long-winded, especially in a One Take Wednesday kind of video where I'm not really editing and putting up graphics to really show you what this is. But the away goals is basically if Team A wins by a score of 2-1 at home, and then the second leg, Team B at home wins 1-0. Both teams have scored 2 goals between those 2 legs. However, Team B scored 1 away goal while Team A scored 0 away goals. So they get that tiebreaker, and Team B would then move on to the next round. So that would happen all the way up until the final, and then the final would be just a single elimination game final at some like neutral site. Think of a Super Bowl type of scenario. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, what if there was an in-season tournament kind of similar to that, where teams, maybe they don't do all that great during the regular season, but maybe they win a couple games, get some lucky bounces and win a couple games, and all of a sudden they're in a knockout stage. They're getting more games for their fans. It's easy to market, get some more revenue for teams. The NHL owners love revenue. They love money, right? This is another way to do it. Now, it's a lot of hockey. Obviously, it's going to be for successful teams that maybe are doing really well in both the regular season and this in-season tournament. They're playing a lot of games. Maybe that means we need to knock down the season to maybe like 60 games instead of 82. I don't know. It's just kind of a hypothetical thing at this point. All those details would have to obviously get worked out through a CBA agreement and everything. But it'd be kind of interesting and fun to have teams still being able to potentially compete for something, even if they're having a poor regular season and they're not doing all that well, and they're basically not going to be making the playoffs. And they can still do well in these tournaments, these in-season tournaments, and it wouldn't affect them, say, losing for Hughes. They can still get a top draft pick because the draft pick is all about the regular season standings position. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. This is just kind of an idea I've had. Like, this would be kind of fun. It brings some more excitement and maybe gets more teams involved in a playoff-like atmosphere than maybe they wouldn't get a chance of because they're just not doing all that great in the regular season. But yeah, like I said, leave your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's kind of a neat concept. But like, share, and subscribe if you really like this video. I appreciate that as always. But most importantly, stay safe, make good decisions, and I'll see you next time.